Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to BBallBreakdown. You know, LeBron James has played in 7 NBA Finals, so I thought it'd be really cool to go through how he attacked in the half court in all of the finals he's played in. So I went back and looked at hundreds and hundreds of clips way back from 2007 until today, and it's a really interesting journey to trace how he's evolved his game. So you don't want to miss that. And I also want to make it clear, it's not about the results. So don't get caught up in the fact that maybe he misses a bunch of shots or makes other ones. I just needed to show you good clips that had good examples of how he attacked in the offense. Doesn't take anything away from how good he really is. And before we get to the footage, I want to share with you our friends over at SeatGeek, who have a tremendous app that you have to download, because if you want to get concert tickets or sporting event tickets, this is the way to go. You get a picture at the vantage point of the seat. You also will get $20 off your first purchase if you use my code BBall. So get in there, go in the settings, enter BBall in the code to get your first purchase $20 off, and you'll also get a grade on those tickets. You'll know whether or not it's a great deal. So you definitely got to check it right now and help me, help you, help SeatGeek help you get great seats. You in? When going through so many of his clips throughout the years, one thing that struck me right off the bat was how often he utilized a weak side screen to get open back in the day. In his first finals in 2007, with arguably the worst supporting cast in finals history, Mike Brown had LeBron playing almost like a shooting guard. You can't tell me he doesn't remind you of how Klay Thompson plays in his offense, getting multiple pin down screens to pop out for a perimeter jumper. This was very sound offense, and getting him running off of well-set screens was a great idea. However, you can still see his mechanics suffering back then when he would shoot on the way down. That said, it was devastating to the defense when he would attack on the catch, curling off a pin down and getting into the middle of the lane. No one could stop it. Watch him set a pin down in a floppy action, only to get his own pin down and pop for the inefficient long two. Look how much gravity he commands, drawing 3 defenders to him, but he struggled attacking off the catch consistently, holding it long enough for the defense to get back in position, but it often didn't matter through sheer force of will. I could not find one example of a pin down set for LeBron in this year's finals, and the only other ones I stumbled across were from 2012 against OKC, which was well contained and defended, forcing the Heat to keep hunting for a shot along the perimeter until they get a breakdown, and end up with a bad shot. And out of this horn set for LeBron in the corner, they get him a double pin down and another long two. Say, remember LeBron's famous crab dribble? He used to do it all the time, but I don't think I've seen him pull it out in like 3 years. The Cavs were running horns back in 2007, which was a good way to get some movement and a post-up for Ilgauskas, and then watch how well LeBron attacks on the catch, using the hop to throw a shoulder fake before exploding to the hoop to set up his teammate for the score. It's great to see him attack before the defense can get set, and it got him open shots, as well as drives where he could overpower opponents one-on-one before the defense could load up on him. And if he did get past his primary defender, there was very little the rotating big man could do if he got close enough to the rim. And even in last year's finals, we caught him doing it a little tiny bit, but with Iguodala guarding him, these shots proved very difficult to make all series. Of course, with a player as physically gifted as LeBron, he got his fair share of isolations. There was no need to mess around with fancy offense when you could get him locked into a mismatch and let him fearlessly attack his smaller, slower, and weaker defenders. And 3 or 4 years ago, he had enough power and explosiveness to get these shots to go in quite often from anywhere on the floor. Out of the ISO, LeBron developed this floating to the left, twisting, hanging, shooting with the right-handed shot. And it was good to find evidence of this shot going in, justifying his attempts at taking the shot in the first place. That said, this is the shot that he has struggled to make consistently, and I'm not surprised since he's trying to shoot across his body with all his momentum going towards the baseline away from the basket. This is one of those instances where if I could go back in time, I'd warn him to develop a different type of shot going to his left. Perhaps a simple pull-up or a jump stop into a shot fake, since when he does miss these shots, they're way off. Especially because it's the kind of shot you can make in your prime with all your physical powers, But now that LeBron is starting to show signs of exiting those prime years, he needs a different shot out of the isolation. LeBron's outside shooting has always been a bit of an adventure as well, and he's never been able to find a truly consistent stroke, particularly off the bounce. And remember, playing in the finals means playing against some of the best defenses in the world. And when you isolate like LeBron does, taking that much time before attacking, he's allowing the defense to communicate and contain. And his defenders have been inviting him to take the jump shot ever since he entered the league. He has never ranked very high in isolation efficiency in the finals. And while it might have been the best option for his team, I always felt there were plenty of other ways to get him attacking. Yet, it was his most used category throughout his career in the finals. The Heat's offense struggled with the big three initially, unable to figure out how to integrate them together into a cohesive unit. Finally, they discovered that they could unlock a lot of great offense when they started getting LeBron the ball at the elbow and used the threat of his drive to open up easy shots for everyone else. But last year's short-handed Cavaliers team took this to the extreme, and I couldn't get over how many times they simply put him on that left elbow and left side of the court and let him try and isolate against the Warriors. I'm sure in LeBron's mind, it was the only way to score without Kyrie and Love playing. But look at the weak side defense. They're able to form a wall due to the stagnant offense and severely limited LeBron's options, causing many difficult shots that directly led to LeBron's poor field goal percentage in the series. By dominating their offense with this action so frequently, I felt the Cavs would lose playing this way 10 out of 10 times. And this year, he's been able to cut down on his own isolations, but they've been replaced with a ton of inefficient Kyrie Irving ISOs, and they haven't seemed to adjust to what they learned from last year. The results have been up and down so far with LeBron's isolations, but they're still his number one category, and he's been below average in efficiency. This has had a direct effect on their offensive struggles, and why they're on the brink of being eliminated for the second year in a row. The post-up has always existed in LeBron's arsenal, but it has been a long process to get him more and more comfortable to get down to the block and command the ball. He just didn't seem comfortable down there in the beginning, although he did exhibit this nice drop step jump hook that he simply never shoots anymore. But more often than not, he gets stuck down there, unsure of himself, and make a poor decision. His biggest issue, as I see it, is his inability to get to a position near the block, hold it, then receive the ball. Even in this year's finals, we've seen him time and again start out on the block, yet end up 16 to 17 feet away from the basket by the time he catches the ball, negating much of the advantage the post-up inherently has. His teams have also been inconsistent with their off-ball movement, making it easier for the defense to load up to stop him down there, and rather than engage in a quick attack on the catch into a crafty move with good footwork, he turned his post-ups into 4 and 5 dribble affairs, ones that let the defense inch closer and closer to gum up the works and ultimately lead to more difficult shots. That said, it's been great to see him increase his proficiency down low and be more and more willing to create offense from this position. As he continues to age, this will be his bread and butter and the one place he's got to continue to improve in order to maintain his productivity that he's used to over the next several years. Now, let's look at our final category, pick and roll ball handler. This is where LeBron has traditionally been his best, and it makes sense since his size makes him so difficult to deal with. Back in 2007, he'd wreak havoc on traditional big men trying to hedge out on him, but he'd also struggle with finding the best shots out on the perimeter when he couldn't find an immediate opening to the hoop. That said, his outside shooting always left an opening for the defense to sag as much as possible and dare him to shoot from the outside. The Spurs really made an effort, and it definitely had an effect on his play, as they almost beat the Heat in 6 games in 2013, then dominated them even though LeBron was hitting his jumper off the pick and roll. LeBron always seemed to find a way to make it work for him and make it a potent weapon. But there were long stretches in many of these finals where his impact wasn't felt as greatly because teams would give him a lot of room and dare him to shoot it. In 2014, he had his greatest success from beyond the three-point arc, but it didn't help the team stop the Spurs from beating them in 5 games. So there you have it, sports fans. LeBron James has been one of the most successful players the NBA has ever seen. Simply making it to 7 NBA Finals is an incredible accomplishment and a testament to his willingness to make the right play and elevate his teammates. Some of his teams have ranked near the bottom in overall talent for a finals team, and yet he still made many of those games in series competitive. Remember, this is about how he attacked over the years, and not as much about the results of these individual plays. His record speaks for itself, and when we look back at his career, his legacy should remain intact as one of the best players ever to play the game.